and welcome to Psychosec. Can I answer any questions?
What is it all about?
Well, we're a company that produces 100% organic human sleeves. You're probably wondering what's a human sleeve. Well, if you gather around, I can let you know what we do here in full details. So here at Psychosec, we've been able to achieve true immortality by taking your human consciousness and storing it on a device called a cortical stack. It's implanted in the base of your neck, and it collects and stores everything that makes you you. Every memory, every emotion, every sensation, everything you've ever experienced gets stored on this little device. You can see it here on this screen that's about to come up. You guys just follow me. All the information is stored on this device and can be digitally transferred from one sleeve that you currently occupy into the sleeve of your choosing.
Sleeves are basically human bodies we grow in our labs. They're organically real. Bones, tissue, organs, everything. These are the best bodies you'll ever have. Period. Nothing can hurt these bodies, but they are human. So if something were to happen to them, you can always change them out for a new one. That's why it says immortality becomes non-existent. Because you can be 50 in one body and change to the next body. You're as young as you feel. If you come this way, David's going to show you some 2018 models that you can choose from.
Okay, you can choose which sleeve you desire. Now you can either have the sleeve that you have right now, or we have a selection of wonderful sleeves. Psychosec, fully genuine and organic produced. Now if you'd like to be taller, shorter, skinnier, if you'd like to have better vision, maybe strengthen your body, you have the choice to choose a man or a woman's sleeve. Now if your sleeve becomes damaged or too old for your liking, simply remove from the cortical stack your DHF, your consciousness, to another.
What's your thoughts on the situation? Leave a comment below.
Confirmed.
Completely flat. Completely flat.
And ice wall? What's beyond the ice wall?
You get to that, and if you go down, and the gravity works in a different direction. So when it rains, it doesn't fall on the floor. It falls up.
Is there another world beyond the ice wall?
Hi.
How long have you been flying for?
Like for Delta, 21 years, but maybe like 30 something.
I want to know, because they say the pilots know a lot. Do you think the Earth is flat or no?
I know it's flat.
You know it's flat? How long have you been flying for, you said?
Over 30 years.
And when you tell people that, do they think you're like crazy or no?
Only one person.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What do Walmart and the Truman Show have in common to you? Now, you remember in the Truman Show how he was looking around and how he was like, why is everybody moving the same way? Why is everybody, it's routine, everything. And it's something hidden behind the elevator. When he walked in, he seen, I heard one of my followers say, she went to Walmart and the parking lot was full of people. She said when she went in Walmart, she said there was only a few people there. And then someone come in and said, they're working on the ground. Y'all listen. The things that we see are not things that's really there. I'm walking in Walmart, the video I made a while back. I felt so uncomfortable that I said this time when I go in Walmart, I'm going to pay attention to everybody. Excuse me. I said, I'm going to pay attention to everybody and what they doing. I said, I'm just going to watch everybody. That's what I said. Y'all, when I walked in that door, it's in on my video, previous video. And I just had to look at the Truman Show, and I seen so much in the Truman Show. Even the part that when he said that, how did I climb this mountain with my legs broken? Do y'all remember that video that when I said that when I had to get to the top of this hill, I realized that I didn't have no legs? It's there, I got the video. Okay. Y'all, I'm going to get back to it, but listen, I don't have all the answers. I do not have all the answers. When I put something out there, I get a lot of information from you all. The word said iron sharpens iron. This time when I walk in Walmart, I'm watching everything. I'm looking at the people and I see them doing the same thing. They in such a rush, they got to grab this, they got to grab that. That's for me to follow their lead. This is what I'm thinking. As I'm shopping, I'm moving kind of slow, coming around from produce, going toward the meat. And there was this little Caucasian man, and he was just moving so fast. He was grabbing this, and he'd run over here and he grabbed that, but he was behind me. And I was picking him up so strong, and I was seeing him how he was moving. And so I tried to get all the way over. Look at the video. I made the video. I guess all the way to the side by the meat counter so that he wouldn't be close to me. Just go ahead on and get what you're going to get. Let me do what I'm doing. Because I felt it. He did not stop. He kept moving out, working his way all the way out. And I'm still trying to stay out of his way. I'm looking at him about 10 feet from me, coming toward my way. And I'm still trying to get out the way. And he's just still deep. He over here grabbing this. Finally, when he got close to me, and I'm trying to get back out of his way, he walks up to me and tapped me on my back. Excuse me, I didn't want him to touch me. I didn't feel comfortable. I rebuked it. Because right after he did that, I'm looking and I know the Spirit had to give it to me. It was a Caucasian lady coming up the aisle. And I happened to turn and look down at a pork butt, which I don't even eat. Y'all, I'm not lying. God is my witness, I'm not lying. That's why I put it out there. I don't care. My followers ain't called me stupid. They ain't called me no fool. But I do sound funny, y'all, telling y'all this stuff. But I'm going to tell you, this lady, she comes all the way up the aisle, all the way up on the left side. So I'm looking at her as she's coming. That woman stopped when she got close to where I was and turned and came right in front of me and grabbed that pork butt. I said, you can have it. You ever been thinking about something and all of a sudden it's on TV? Me and a prophet was talking yesterday, and we were speaking about something that was so unusual. And right after we got off the phone, it was on my TV. I said that to say this here. You know, Truman was looking around. He was like, everybody's moving the same. Everybody's doing the same thing. It's routine. Let me put it this way. Listen, y'all, I used to travel a lot on the Greyhound bus. I traveled a whole lot. And I had left Chicago. Now, you know how your garbage man look, right? You know how the man that works at the convenience store, the one that cleans the yard and stuff like that, because you drive by there and you see him all day, every day. Hey, Harry, how you doing? You see him. I was on the Greyhound bus, and I was so far, I don't know where in the world I was at, but I was so many states away. I happened to look and I seen a man identical, had on the same clothes, the same beard, looked just like a man that does the same kind of work in Chicago. This man was doing cleaning up around the building. The guy in Chicago did the same thing. Y'all, I'm putting this out there because you know what? We get a lot of knowledge from each other. But this man was dressed like him. He had the same. And then I looked, I said, wait. I said, that's the same guy. Some people that's unlearned would say this right here. Well, you know, it's just a person that looked like him. Or he just went. We don't, listen, on this channel, we don't try and justify nothing. We look at it as what it is. That Truman Show, I'm glad that my follower told me. And I didn't do it way back then. The Truman Show and Walmart have so much in common. I'm going to say this right here, too. Do you think the lottery is for you? Huh. Every time you play those numbers, y'all, this is my belief, and I have a right to speak it. Each time you play those numbers, I think there's a machine that calculates all the way down to who, I'm going to tell you. You put all that money, and then you'll end up winning $2. This thing is set up. How can this man, y'all know what I'm talking about, the man that got locked up, the man that had the island, the man that's now deleted. How could he win the lottery, the mega million twice? How could he win it twice? Anyway, y'all, I kind of feel alone, and y'all kind of lift me up with y'all comment. And right now, I could use it. I could use it because there's so much, y'all, I don't understand. God is my witness. It's so much I don't understand. So, God bless y'all, and please leave me a comment. Love you.
On the 250th anniversary of America, there was cosmic radiation all over the atmosphere in New York City, which is basically a representation of the harbinger of destruction, an omen, which is a form of carnage. And this is all cultivated by the processional circle. The same ionospheric frequency modification that you've seen in the atmosphere in Venezuela days before the earthquake is the same frequency modulation that you've seen in the atmosphere in New York City. Now, when you go to New York City and you go to this place called the Cathedral of St. John Divine, which is also known as the Portal of Peace, it demonstrates a lot of ontological artifacts that shows you the apocalypse that's going to be taking place in New York City. It shows you the Brooklyn Bridge broke in half. It shows you the destruction of the Twin Towers right before it happens, because the great majority of these carvings was created from 1988 to 1997. In 1997, the same year when they finished building the Cathedral of St. John Divine, is also the same year when the movie Escape from New York came out. And mind you, the main character in the movie, his name was Snake Plissken, because Snake is the personification of Kundalini activation that harmonizes with the four basic elements by way of the dodecahedron, which is why they show you the 5 pillars of destruction at the Cathedral of St. John Divine. So with all that shit being said, based on my logical assertions, this is basically translating to a warning. Because you just had a couple at the Empire State Building propagating peace. And anytime that the system talks about peace, chaos is going to ensue. And mind you, at the 250th anniversary, you had the Brooklyn Bridge caught on fire. And you also got to take into account that the New York Knicks won the championships. So they need a sacrifice. There has to be an energy exchange for them winning the championship. And that's going to be judgment that's going to be placed on New York City, which is modern day Babylon.
They calculate age by the months. But if I told you the months was off? What if I told you that the months have been changed? What if I told you that everybody living now is younger than they tell them? What if I tell you that? And what if I told you that the fact that you think you become older is the fact where your body become young, older? What if I told you that? What if I could show you different calendars that does different things? You had a turtle calendar before? It was 13 months. It was 13 months. So if it's 13 months, and we count 12 months in a year, how old am I?
Yeah.
I have a question. Who decided this in the first place? Because most of us have never questioned how we measure time. We just grow up learning that there are 12 months in a year, 365 days, birthdays happen once a year, and that's that. But then somebody asks a question like, what if the calendar itself is just one system of measuring time? And all of a sudden you realize we've been treating one way of measuring reality as if it's the only way. Now, as far as the 13-month calendar is concerned, I think it's interesting because different cultures throughout history really have used different calendars. Some were based on the moon, some on the sun, and some organized time in completely different ways. So it makes me wonder how much of what we think is natural is actually just the system that we inherited. Because time itself does not exist, but we have divided up a unit of measurement that we call time. 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day. These are all measurement systems. They're incredibly useful, but they're still systems. And once you realize that, it opens the door to bigger questions. This is basically saying that maybe our relationship with aging is tied to the way we've been taught to measure time. Now, whether changing the calendar would literally change how our bodies age, that's a much bigger claim. And that's something we can't really conclude from this idea alone. But I do think there's something worth thinking about. How much does perception influence experience? Because we already know our minds are powerful. Think about stress. You cannot see stress, but you can obviously see what it does to your body over time. Think about hope or grief or fear. Our internal experience affects us in very, very real ways. So I don't think it's crazy to ask whether the stories we tell ourselves about aging influence how we experience getting older. We've all met people who seem 20 years younger than their age, and we've met people who seem exhausted by life long before they're old. That itself tells me that aging, it isn't just about the number on a birthday cake. It's not. It's all about mindset, energy, purpose, the way we live. One thing I really appreciate about clips like this is that they remind us to question the things we've accepted without ever examining. Not to reject everything we've been taught, but to ask why. Who created this system? What was its purpose? Are there other ways of looking at the same thing? I think those are healthy questions because curiosity is what pushes us to learn. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest parts of a spiritual journey. You stop assuming that you already know everything. You become willing to look at familiar ideas from a different angle. Sometimes that changes your perspective, sometimes it doesn't. But either way, you've grown because you were willing to ask the question. So maybe this conversation isn't only about whether there should be 12 months or 13 months. Maybe it's really about realizing that our experience of reality is shaped by the frameworks that we inherit. And once you recognize that, you start wondering what other frameworks you've accepted without ever stopping to examine them. To me, that's where the real awakening begins. Not with having all the answers, but with becoming curious enough to ask better questions.
Our real pigments are green, red, blue. And we only appear copper because of all of this oxygen we're breathing in. All right, so let me explain this. This is not fake, so I don't want nobody, oh, well, it's turning green because it's fake. No. All right. We all know how fake jewelry is. It'll turn you colors, so to say, right? Turn your neck green. It doesn't turn your neck green. What happens is it's stripping the first layer off the epidermis of your skin that isn't real. You appear to be copper. We appear to be these pigments. We are really not. We are actually still green, blue, and red. But you breathing in this oxygen, so it's causing your pigment to appear this color. Okay? Now, this right here is an actual real copper bracelet, but it's still, as you can look at it, it's stripping her pigment. Okay? It's stripping her false pigment and showing her real pigment. Because copper is the highest form of gold. Remember, gold is the lower form of copper, which is why our oppressors taught us this. All right?
Okay, now, wait a minute. What? When he said our original skin pigment is actually green and that copper is revealing what's underneath, I was like, hold on, where is this about to go? Now, whether you agree with everything he's saying or not, I think it's interesting because it gets you thinking about something bigger. How much do we actually know about ourselves? Like, seriously. Think about how much we still do not understand about the human body, consciousness, the brain, even space. It's just so many questions. So when people start bringing up ancient knowledge, metals like copper and gold, and the possibility that our ancestors understood things that we've forgotten, I'm naturally curious. Not because I'm going to automatically believe every single thing that I hear, but because I think curiosity is healthy. One thing that caught my attention was how much respect ancient civilizations seem to have for copper. You see it everywhere. Ancient Egypt, different African cultures, indigenous cultures. Copper wasn't just used to make tools, it was worn, traded, worked into ceremonial objects. It clearly meant something. Clearly. Now, did every culture use it for the same reason? Probably not. But it does make you wonder why this particular metal has shown up across so many different civilizations. Then then he starts talking about gold being a lower form of copper. I know that's going to make a lot of people raise an eyebrow, but I also wonder if he's speaking literally or if he's speaking symbolically. Because sometimes spiritual leaders use physical objects to point toward a deeper idea. And if that's the case, maybe the conversation isn't really about metals at all. Maybe it's about value. What humanity has been taught is valuable versus what actually has value. We've been conditioned to chase status, money, titles, and things that look impressive on the outside. But the older I get, the more I realize the things that actually matter usually are not the flashy things. Peace of mind, good health, the people you love, knowing yourself, being connected to something bigger than your everyday routine. Oh, honey, those things are priceless. I also think it's okay to admit when we don't know something. I feel like we're living in a time where people think they have to choose one extreme or the other. Either you believe everything or you dismiss everything. I don't really live there. I like sitting in the middle. I like asking questions. I like to hear different perspectives. Sometimes you hear something that completely changes the way that you think. Other times you hear something and you realize, I don't know about all that. And that's okay too. At the end of the day, I think that's what this journey is really all about. Staying curious, keeping your mind open, doing your own research, you know. Maybe that's why we're all here to keep learning, to keep questioning, and to keep discovering things about ourselves that we didn't even know were waiting to be uncovered. It's always a good practice to question the things that we've accepted as normal. Our first clip brought us to the question of what if the way we've been measuring time isn't the only way to understand our experience? And the latter brought us to the question of what if there's more to our bodies and this world than we've been taught? Whether you agree with those ideas or not almost isn't the point. The point is that they challenge you to think. And I honestly think that's one of the biggest parts of a spiritual journey. Not collecting beliefs, learning how to question them. Because if we're being real, most of us didn't choose our worldview. We inherited it. We inherited the way we think about time, about aging, spirituality, history, all of that stuff. We even inherited what we're told is possible and what's impossible. Very few of us actually sat down one day and built those beliefs up from scratch. Most of them were handed to us. So I think it's healthy every once in a while to ask, why do I believe this? Not because you're trying to argue with everybody or trying to be a rebel against everything that you've learned, but because that's how you grow. Growth usually starts with a question. I know people sometimes think questioning things means that you're lost. I actually think the opposite. I think questioning is a sign that you're awake enough to realize there might be another perspective. Now, does that mean every alternative theory is true? No, of course not. But I also don't think every unconventional idea should automatically be dismissed just because just because it challenges the mainstream way of thinking. History has a funny way of reminding us that people laughed at a lot of ideas until they weren't laughing anymore. That's why I always tell people to stay curious. You don't have to rush to believe everything. You also don't have to rush to reject everything. Give yourself permission to sit with an idea, research it, look at it from different perspectives, see what resonates and see what does not. One thing I've noticed on my spiritual journey is that some of the biggest shifts didn't happen because someone gave me an answer. They happened because somebody asked me a question that I had never considered before. And that, my love, is powerful. This channel has never been about telling people what they have to believe. It's about creating a space where we can explore ideas that most people don't even feel comfortable talking about. And I think that's important because curiosity doesn't have to be dangerous. It is how we learn and grow and discover more about ourselves. So, wherever you are on your journey, please do not lose that. Keep asking questions, keep reading and studying, keep paying attention to your own experiences because no matter how many books you read or how many videos you watch, your own life is still your greatest teacher. The patterns you notice, the synchronicities that make you stop in your tracks, the moments the moments where your intuition whispers something before your mind catches up. Do not ignore those moments. They are actually worth paying attention to. At the end of the day, whether we're talking about time, hidden knowledge, consciousness, any of that good stuff, I think we're all searching for the exact same thing. And that is a deeper understanding of who we are and why we're here. And maybe we don't have to have every single answer right this second. Maybe the journey itself is the whole point of all of this. Maybe every question we ask opens up another door. And maybe that's exactly how it's supposed to be. If these conversations got you thinking, I would love to hear more. Let me know what stood out to you the most down in the comments. What ideas have challenged your perspective lately? And what questions are you sitting with? Drop them below in the comments. And until next time, I love you, love you, love you. And I will see you on the very next video.